Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad 𝐸𝐽. That's Tyson Gentry. We are back in the saddle. NFL Week 7 recap. It's been a while since we did one of these things. Tyson was at a concert last week and seeing Foreigner. So we pushed everything back and decided we were just looking forward. And we had a great NFL slate, I thought, this weekend. I mean, in terms of some of the results, not for some of the players. So we'll get into injuries. We'll go through everything in terms of the biggest storylines, all the things coming out of that. But Tyson, what do you think of this weekend overall before we get into everything?
This was an interesting weekend in the NFL in that there wasn't a ton of very close games. There was certainly some upsets on lines and things like that we'll talk about. But on the whole, this is the time that teams are kind of separating from each other. And so you're going to get some of your really bad teams get pounded by good teams. And it's good to see those good teams win games by more than expected, because that means we were correct about them being good.
All right, let's get into it. You know what time it is, folks.
Just say it.
And if you guys have been listening to this podcast for a while, you know I got to rip the Carolina Panthers. And I think Tyson's on the side of with me as well. So, one, not only do you guys get embarrassed, which is fine, because based on the spread, a lot of people thought the Carolina Panthers were going to lose. But you make the transition to Andy Dalton with the idea that, it's just not working for Bryce Young. We think that we can be at least a little bit more competitive. Well, I hate to break it to you guys. Did you see the scoreboard? The team stinks. And it wasn't just Bryce Young's fault. Yes, you got the win with Andy Dalton in the bounce-back game against a terrible, terrible Raiders team. But this team, the Carolina Panthers, as constructed, is awful. It was not Bryce Young's fault. You want to know why you guys are the laughingstock, David Tepper? You want to know why you can't field a competitive team since you've taken over? Is because when you guys are getting your ass kicked, when you were down 27-0 at half or 24-0 at half, and it got run up to 37-0, 34-0, whatever that was, you didn't freaking put in Bryce Young. Insanity. This is a guy 1 year ago who was a number 1 overall draft pick, who you said is going to be the future of your franchise. You brought in Dave Canales, the quarterback whisperer, to work with Bryce Young. And after a poor start, you give up on him, you're getting your ass kicked. You're not doing anything this season. Play the kid. It was unbelievable. Tyson, I could not believe what I was watching. It was so bad. It was complete malpractice.
Well, at a certain point, it just felt like there's no reason to not have Bryce Young in this game, because Dave Canales has come out in the past and why did you make the switch when they're getting blown out before? And he said, I want to protect Andy Dalton. Well, you didn't want to protect him this time? I mean, he was a horrible. What was he? He was 11 for 16, 93 yards, 2 picks. The Panthers completed 13 passes, Brad. Ja'Tavion Sanders caught 6 of them. That's a good game. Ian Thomas caught 2. That's 8 to tight ends. Both Ian Thomases were check downs. Miles Sanders caught a check down. Xavier Legette caught a check down. I mean, they weren't pushing the ball down the field with any urgency at all. Down 40 points, essentially. Jaden Daniels goes out of the game, and the lead grows exponentially, right? I mean, this is a Marcus Mariota that's been, for lack of a better term, kind of passed around the league a little bit to different teams here in the last few years, and he looks like an all-pro against this defense. The issues are much bigger than just the offense and not playing Bryce Young, but you can't even see, I know, I get it. You've seen what you have, and maybe you don't want to put the tape out there for the rest of the league just in case you want to move him before the deadline, but this is – David Tepper has ran this organization in the ground, and this is just another example. Their best player so far this season has been Chuba Hubbard. I don't even think the Deontay Johnson thing is funny. He didn't show up on Sunday. They're gonna trot Jonathan Brooks back out here after a torn ACL behind this off. This is the team that he's gonna walk into. They're gonna kill 2 draft picks in 2 years on the offensive side of the football.
And if you want to trade Bryce Young, Tyson, I don't even know if they want to do that, because they're like, we're not going to trade him. What are you sitting him for, though? You need to know if you need to draft. It's just so bad, and the Carolina Panthers are so stupid. David Tepper, I mean, he honestly was not the beneficiary, the least beneficiary. I'm at a loss for words here, from Dan Snyder leaving the NFL. Honestly,
he took the throne, he grabbed it, ripped it, he didn't. Dude, and with the way that all of sports is going, I mean, we got Reinsdorf getting out of the game. Some of these very poor owners are leaving. Yep. And it feels like David Tepper isn't even allowing us to have a discussion about who's the worst. He's just pointing at himself with a big neon sign.
If we're not speaking about James Dolan and it's immediately David Tepper, you have a major issue. But don't worry, Tyson. Bill Belichick wasn't on their radar. That's just not the guy they wanted to bring in. What an absolute disaster and loser franchise. Okay, let's look at the other storylines coming out of this weekend.
Armchair quarterback.
And one of the ones we did get into, Tyson, was some of the trades that took place. And Davante Adams, Amari Cooper, new faces, new places. Russ Wilson that we'll touch on. What did you think? I mean, it's hard not to be underwhelmed by what we just saw with Davante Adams, but I thought Amari Cooper looked pretty good, kind of touchdown. You know, like our boy Keon Coleman telling him what to do and like, just run this route, which was pretty funny. But what did you think of the new face, new places debut?
We'll start with Davante. Just that was the early game of the week, and kind of everybody got to have eyes on that one. First of all, he's credited with 9 targets. I think that you and I can agree that 2 of those at least were batted down at the line of scrimmage. So we'll cut it. We'll say he was 3 catches for 30 yards on 7 targets. Not a great game for him. It's really hard to move into a new spot, but the Jets look like trash again. And this is just like, Breece Hall is your most explosive player by a mile in this last game, and it's through the air. Like, it's not even him running the rock. And so if you can't establish the run, your run game becomes glorified screen passes most of the time, and sometimes Breece will catch a wheel route or whatever. But there was just no creativity. Garrett Wilson's getting hit in the chest with the football. The ball is going the other way. It was horrible. This is not indicative, I don't think, of the way this Davante Adams thing is going to work here in New York as far as the way the offense looks. But this season has passed them by already, and we're in week 7.
They're in danger mode for sure. I mean, the loss to the Bills, and you look horrible against the Steelers, another AFC team. The defense is the biggest worry for me. The offense may get better. This defense stinks, and they were injured, sure. But, I mean, when Robert Saleh at least was the head coach, they were playing. I know people are like, oh, I don't know if he's getting respected in the locker room and all that. Like, well, I don't know. Ulbrich coming in, like, I don't know if these guys, like, what the hell is going on? You know, he was the defensive coordinator, so it should be the same. What the hell has happened? They can't stop the run. The secondary, I know they're banged up, but holy smokes, you got 17,000 backups in there, and you're letting receivers and tight ends run wild. I mean, Darnell Washington's a featured part of the offense. The guy's a blocker. That's what they thought of that secondary and how to attack the linebacking core. So, I agree with you. Davante Adams is not, and we talked about this, the offense could look better. That's not what needed to be fixed. But Tyson, I thought the offense for the Bills with Amari Cooper, God, if that's the thing we're scratching the surface on, holy smokes. And Josh Allen wasn't throwing a pick. This is a guy that people are like, he's just throwing the picks too much last year. I'm like, guys, interceptions aren't bad. Like, they're bad when they're in the red zone, but and on your side of the field. But if you're being aggressive and it's basically an arm punt, that's fine with me. I'd rather you be aggressive. You force the defense to have to defend something. But Tyson, holy smokes. This offense now, Keon Coleman looks like a dude, like a legit guy. This running game, finally we got physicality with the Bills. And if you're going to try to stack the box to stop it, everybody's going to be one-on-one because Amari Cooper's out there. So this looks great to me.
Yeah, and we'll put the caveat on that they're playing the 1-5 Tennessee Titans.
Yes.
So that helps quite a bit on both sides of the football. But, I mean, Josh Allen goes for 300 in Amari Cooper's first game. Amari ends with a touchdown. I think he finished somewhere around 60 yards for the game, which was good. And this is a guy, unlike kind of the Davante Adams situation, where he doesn't know the playbook. He doesn't know the quarterback who can break the huddle and say, hey, on this one, you're doing this. It was a different thing. He's a pro. And what we said kind of on this was, for a guy that gets open all the time, it's going to be really nice to have a quarterback that just sometimes says, screw it, I'm going to try to fit this thing in that window. And that's we saw that a couple times already in this game. It also just takes pressure off everybody else. I mean, we're getting a Ray Davis sighting weekly right now, which is
Yeah.
nice if you're the Buffalo Bills. Ty Johnson's getting in the end zone. It takes a ton of pressure and attention away from Dalton Kincaid. I'm excited to see kind of how that works as they go through the rest of the season. But we said that this very, very well could kind of escalate the Bills towards the top of the conference with the Chiefs and the Ravens. And I think the early returns are pretty good.
I agree. 5-2, 3-0 at home. They got the home field advantage, Tyson. And how about my boy, Russ Wilson, off the milk carton, out of the pen, people just ripping them apart. Oh, Russ stinks. I thought it was awfully quiet when Russ Wilson had a good game. Like all those people after the first 2 drives when he was rusty, or maybe 3 or 4 drives, whatever the case may be. Oh, what do you know? This offense goes to the next level. And all the Russ Wilson haters are just going back in their little holes and waiting for the other day that they can point out and say he stinks. Tyson, this is something that I found so laughable. These idiots online, God, this is just such a bad decision by Mike Tomlin. He's going to lose the locker room. Really? Because did you see the reactions from those players? Did you see how happy they were on that side? The offensive line's engaged. The wide receivers are engaged. Oh, this offense looks like it's actually a modern offense because he can throw the ball down the field. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season. Everybody knows that. Why the hell are we questioning his decisions on the football field? This guy pushes the right buttons all the time. You're an idiot, not you, Tyson, but idiot. And I thought it was just great that Russ Wilson was able to come in and prove Mike Tomlin right, because both guys that I like, both guys I think are good, and so it was a good day for me. Now, Tyson, if it falls down, then oh boy, we're gonna be hurting.
Well, I am an idiot a bit because I'm certified Russell Wilson hater. He looked awesome. He looked like this was 2013 or something all over again. He's throwing moon balls. We were talking before the show. The one he threw to Pickens like almost made rain come down. I don't know. That looked like when you sky a drive or something and it drops perfectly. We all heard Collinsworth go crazy about that, but it was just a different looking offense. We got Pat Freiermuth with 2 catches, 60 yards. And on one of them, he's just loose, and that's something that hasn't happened essentially all season in Pittsburgh. Like you mentioned, Darnell Washington is getting involved. George Pickens doesn't have anything to throw a fit about when you're catching 5 for 100 and a touchdown. And even Van Jefferson's getting in the end zone. This Calvin Austin, who we were promised, this is the guy the Steelers are going to find to turn into an all-pro. He catches a bomb. This was just an all-around really, really good performance. It felt like, when it started slow, and then they just found a gear and they scored. I bet the under in this game like an idiot, and the Steelers almost hit it by themselves.
Well, that offense just exploded in the second half. I mean, what was it, like 30 unanswered points? Mm-hmm. That was insane. So we'll see what happens. We don't like to overreact on the show. I'm obviously being a little facetious when it comes to taking a victory lap after one game in this new offense from Russ, but it was great to see him back. But Tyson, it's gonna be a while until we see these players back on the field, because it was a landmine and a freaking medical tent for basically every single team this weekend. So we'll go through a couple of these. We'll talk about some rumors that are a result of teams being bad, but I'll run through them quick. We can kind of touch on them. Deshaun Watson tears his Achilles. Brandon Aiyuk out for the year with an ACL MCL tear, which was that was tough to watch. Chris Godwin, fractured ankle, dislocated ankle. He's going to have already underwent surgery. He's done for the year. Mike Evans, hamstring injury, probably out till week 11. MCL sprain for DK Metcalf. Braxton Berrios tears his ACL. Not a huge impact player, but that's something. And Jaden Daniels week to week with a rib injury. This thing was Aiden O'Connell, Raiders starting quarterback, expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury, broken thumb. And so you just kind of go through this. Take it how you want, but man, this thing was a rough weekend.
No, it was horrible. The cart brought out I counted multiple times that you're sitting there. DK gets the cart and sounds like he's going to be okay and probably even play this week, which is a good sign. You never like seeing the cart come out in the med staff, and that's just like we just ran through. The skill position guys and names that people know. There was a couple other massive injuries where teams are just losing starters left and right. And I know this happens every year, but it sure feels like everybody's getting hit equally and hard at the same time. But to me, Brad, like of the biggest ones of the year of this slate, I think I'm going with the wide receivers as far as the impact that it's probably going to have on their team. I think Chris Godwin and Mike Evans going down is just brutal for a Tampa Bay team that had hopes of winning this division. I know that people are really high on Atlanta right now, but with the way that they looked against Seattle, Tampa Bay had a shot to come out and remind people, hey, we want to win this thing too. And then the 49ers, like Debo is sick, so he doesn't make this segment, but he doesn't play. And then Brandon Aiyuk tears his ACL, and we kind of see what this offense looks like right now with no Christian McCaffrey, no Debo Samuel, no Brandon Aiyuk, and it's not good. And I know they're playing Steve Spagnuolo, and he's a genius, and this Chief defense is really good, but they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't open up any passing lanes. This is maybe not necessarily a preview of your future as far as like you have Aiyuk locked up. So next year, theoretically, when he's back, the offense will look a little different. But it just feels like the window's kind of closing shut on some of these teams with these injuries. And it sucks.
Yeah, it does. The 49ers thing, God, does that make you want to pay 60, 65, 70
Crazy.
million for Purdy? Dude, he was horrible. And Spagnuolo, I think he was saying it tongue in cheek, like, oh, I don't see any weaknesses with him, because you watch film, a lot of the film guys, they're in a war with the analytics guys, because the analytics guys are like, well, look at his EPA and this. And it's like, yeah, but we watch the film. He's missing throws and things are underthrown and the ball's missing here. And it's really a lot of the yards after the catch. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, when he gets it, and Brandon Aiyuk, he can catch it in the middle of the field and pop, and then Juwan Jennings. But yeah, you take that away from him, especially Christian McCaffrey, another yards after the catch guy. This thing is a pop gun now for the 49ers. And Brock Purdy's coming back to earth. Man, that pumpkin, holy smokes. It's not a cart anymore or a carriage anymore, that's for sure. But no, I agree with you. It's sad for the Bucs. And obviously Chris Godwin, I was in school when he was in school, so that one hurt last night. Shout out to Chris Godwin, man. That just one tough SOB. I mean, his ankle's going the wrong way, sitting on the cart, just badass dude, man. I'll tell you. But Tyson Tua is supposed to be back this weekend, so that'll be something to keep an eye on.
Do you care about the no guardian cap thing? Why do people care about this?
Well, it's because people, I get why people are outraged. Like, it's uncomfortable when you see stuff like that, right? Like, yeah, I think people are more upset about them being subject to maybe seeing that again, potentially. But I'm not. Dude, do what you want. Like, this is a man's game. This is a man's sport. It's physical. Like, yeah, I'm not telling a guy what to do. Now, if a team came out and said you got to wear it because we put a lot of money into you, all right, yeah. I mean, that's a different conversation. But if nobody's saying that, it's his choice.
No, I don't think it's funny. I mean, we still we hear the studies, and I'm too stupid to see them. So presumably they work, but half the people in the league are wearing them, half of them aren't. I don't care necessarily if Tua is going to wear it or not. I just care that he's back on the field, because this Dolphins offense looks like trash. Oh. Brad on the pick show gives out Dolphins plus 2.5. Or was it team total?
Team total.
Yeah.
How about that was touchdown immediately?
That was farther away. I mean, this thing is brutal right now. And so for all you fantasy football players out there, you can cross your fingers that this thing gets back to somewhat stable, or dude, even average would be a huge improvement right now.
Well, I have, and this isn't a fantasy football thing, but it just kind of puts it in perspective. Against a Gus Bradley defense where everybody eats, I had Tyreek Hill and I didn't start him, because I knew that offense was going to be awful, and it was. So there you go on that. Rumors we'll touch on real quick. I'm not sure if this is substantiated or not. So I do want to say this, but there is some scuttlebutt from a verified account, a Snapchat or Snapback Sports, something like that. But, a couple of the aggregators got after it, that the Vikings are in conversations with the Rams about acquiring Matt Stafford. And in that, Sam Darnold would be a part of the package to the Rams. They would work out a long-term deal. Sam Darnold would be the quarterback of the Rams. And then Matt Stafford, for this short window, would be the quarterback of the Vikings. Now, Tyson, I don't know how you feel about that. Cooper Kupp seems to have a little bit more legs on that one, but the Rams apparently looking to start fire sailing.
Yeah, I don't buy the Matt Stafford one right now. I'm happy to look like an idiot if that comes true later. I think a little bit of that is just Vikings lose to Lions, Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay guy. Let's make a story and kind of connect those two things. But the Cooper Kupp thing is totally true. As far as seeking a second-round pick and they're willing to eat some of his salary, there are some teams that obviously need wide receivers right now. We just ran through some that had some pretty massive injuries. He's not going to San Francisco, I can promise you that. I think the pipe dream for everybody with eyes is to see him in Kansas City somehow, but I don't think that either. I don't think he's going to replace Chris Godwin. This is the time of year, Brad, when it's important to remind people there's a lot of bad landing spots out there for some of these guys in the trade market. And so you can't just sit there and think, well, Cooper Kupp makes this team X amount better, because he's not a monster the same way that Devontae Adams is a monster or somebody like that. Well, Cooper Kupp is winning technically, and it's a lot of it is about timing. And if he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles, for instance, who are just like, screw it, I'm going to throw the football up, you're down there somewhere, it's a completely different player.
Carolina Panthers should be aggressive. That's somebody I'd look at if you want to make a play for the future. Las Vegas Raiders, for me, continue to tank.
That'd be crazy.
Jacoby Myers. I don't know if you have a true X. How about this? Stay in LA, go to the Chargers.
That would be
They
nice.
need a guy, man.
I think that was the first time last night a lot of people have gotten to see this Chargers team, because there was some venom I saw on the internet, and it was like, this is how they've looked all year, and they're winning football games.
Okay, let's get into this, and we'll hit on these before we move into kind of the look ahead. Lions defeat the Vikings. They are now the number 1 team in the NFC. Vikings no longer undefeated. I got to say, Tyson, this Lions team, to me, they're the best team in the NFL right now. I know there's question marks on defense, and Aiden Hutchinson, that's going to hurt. They're going to add somebody. Now, is it a game breaker? Is it a Josh Uche type of deal from the Patriots? Is it a Myles Garrett? My goodness, can you imagine that? And then Aiden Hutchinson comes back. Holy smokes. Not sure. But what I know is this offense is really good right now. We knew that was going to be the case. It was a slow start. That's fine with me. This is a long season. It doesn't have to just click, click, click immediately. Now, J-Mo Williams, he's going to miss the next 2 games, suspended for performance-enhancing drug, performance-enhancing PEH. I don't know. It seems weird because the normal is 4 and this is a 2. So I don't know, Tyson, if it was like something like a poppy seed thing that got popped. Like, they're not giving any information. So I'm like a little hesitant to be like, what an idiot. Because, like, I don't know what's going on with this.
Dude. He's an idiot. I mean, at a certain point when you've gotten some of these suspensions that he's gotten and then you get this tacked. I mean, this is like if DeAndre Ayton got popped for something in the NBA. We wouldn't sit here and be like, well, I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment. We'd say, guy's an idiot. So, J-Mo, what the heck? But as far as this Lions team, that is going to be interesting how that looks. I'm still taking Baltimore, I think, is the best team to me right now in the NFL. But
really,
this team is rolling. Yeah, I love Baltimore. Lamar Jackson looks
but their
like
defense is.
I believe. Okay. But as far as the Lions go, I do think best team in the NFC. David Montgomery goes down for, was it like a quarter? Or like something not like even that, really, but Jahmyr Gibbs looks awesome, kind of in relief. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a monster. Can we please get Sam Laporta the football more? Like, I still think there's another level this offense can get to, because that's all Sam Laporta did last year was score touchdowns. He wasn't a target hog. It wasn't like he was on pace for 1,500 yards or anything like that. It was like, oh, we're 20 yards away. Let's get the football in Sam Laporta's hands. He's going to score a touchdown. I do believe that Ben Johnson can still find another level here for this Lions offense. And I think that's terrifying if you're also in the NFC.
And I would be surprised to be sitting on stuff. And he's like, you know what? We don't have to show everything immediately. Like, they know it's kind of like what Michigan did last year. And I know it's different in the NFL, but that's how good I think this Lions team is. I could be misguided, but I agree. There's something missing. As far as the Vikings, what do you think? Sam Darnold, I think he kind of came back to earth a little bit, but you know, they were still in the game against a good team. Now it's off a bye, so you're a little bit more hesitant to be like, oh, the Vikings, you know, they competed, you know, because they had an extra time to prepare. And but this defense is legit. I got to say, this defense, man, Brian Flores has them going. Now, I think there are weaknesses still. I mean, we're 2 years removed from being one of the worst units in the league. So I think what he's done right now is impressive. But what do you think about the Vikings regarding this game?
Well, I'm really excited for them to get T.J. Hawkinson back. That's kind of what I was thinking when I'm watching this, seeing Jalen Naylor, who had a good game, kind of fill that second target role. Jordan Addison, another game where he leaves a little bit to be desired. Aaron Jones is immortal. That was one of my takeaways from this game. This dude looks awesome. That is really fun. But behind him, it's hard right now. Ty Chandler doesn't look very good. They just get back Cam Akers, so we'll see how that looks. But I'm not holding my breath there. I think that T.J. Hawkinson could bring this offense maybe to another level. But to your point, I mean, they're up 10-0 in the first quarter, right? And then Detroit just goes nuclear in that second quarter, scores 21 points, and that's the difference there. It's a team with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations versus a team trying to kind of figure out how to get there. And we saw that on Sunday.
Packers walk off the Texans in a very entertaining game. Tyson, I have a lot of takeaways from this one. So I'll throw it to you first. Packers, they're 5-2. Okay, I'll throw it to you because, I mean, I got a lot of things I want to talk about this one.
I have no idea who the Green Bay Packers are right now. I know that they have 5 wins. I know Jordan Love looks amazing at times, and he also looks like, I can't believe he just threw that pass. At other times, they're still kind of figuring things out. Josh Jacobs got to get in the end zone. Like, this running game is fine. Like, they're also – it's not
scored through the air.
Yes, but it's
But I
like
agree.
it's a different thing.
Yeah.
I think being able to establish a run. It's also less runs on average so far this season than we're used to seeing with Matt LaFleur. But I think Jeff Hafley just showed the entire NFL, like, hey, I've been legit when I was at Boston College. I showed up and I played on a crap field in Brazil, and the Eagles scored 38 points on me or whatever, and everybody buried me. This defense is rolling right now. They made C.J. Stroud look really bad, and that's a
Really
conversation
bad.
I think that is worth having. We're probably not going to get too far into it on this show, but he hasn't looked good so far this season, or at least looked like the same guy
Yep.
from a year ago. A bit of a year two slump there, but Green Bay's defense is legitimate, and that's a really good thing to be. That is your calling card in a division like this, where you're going to have to play the Detroit Lions at some point.
Yeah, well, so that's what I want to say, Tyson. I'll give you a hot take right now. If you watch that game, you can't tell me you take C.J. Stroud over Jordan Love going forward.
No.
I mean,
But we're Jordan Love guys.
We are. I mean, we're C.J. Stroud guys too. I mean,
True.
we like him. He was our number 2 quarterback coming out. I think we missed on that considering where Bryce Young is, but it's not like we didn't like him. You know, it's just I know there were a lot of people who had Anthony Richardson over him. So, and we weren't those guys at all. So we like C.J. Stroud. 10 of 21 for 86 yards. Got sacked 4 times. His QBR was 22.1. His passer rating, 58.8. Tyson, without Nico Collins, I think it's safe to say that he's in big trouble. Now, Stephon Diggs caught 5 balls, only 23 yards. This thing shrunk on him immediately. Dalton Schultz had that one big catch. That's it? Really?
I
know he only
he's on a milk
completed
carton.
10, but holy smokes. Tank Dell, 4 targets, 0. He dropped one in the end zone, which would have changed the game. Tyson, if the Packers didn't turn the ball over 3 times, and 2 of those were interceptions by Love, so we can't excuse them, they get blown out. Like this is not close. They scored 16 points in the second quarter, and a lot of those were because of the interceptions. Tyson, they need Nico Collins back in a hurry. And I will say this. C.J. Stroud isn't the only one that's been dependent or is boosted by a wide receiver. It's just glaring how much it is right now because we were coming in, oh, man, C.J. Stroud, he's taking the next step. Top 5. We'll have a conversation at a different date about this, but wow, time to open the eyes, folks.
No, it feels bad as a C.J. Stroud believer, but it feels good as a certified Nico Collins believer. So I don't know. I'm conflicted.
Yeah, Packers win a big one, 5-2. Texans moved to 5-2. They're 2-2 away from home. That's definitely something to note. It happened to them last year, so keep an eye on that. But Tyson, let's look ahead now as we get ready for Week 8.
Marquee matchups.
And we're both Eagles fans. We try not to be pounding the table. Oh, this is a big matchup. But Eagles-Bengals is a big matchup. Now, I came on the show and I said Bengals are going to miss the playoffs. Zach Taylor is going to be fired, and I guaranteed it. Now, I could be wrong because, Tyson, all of a sudden, the Bengals are now 3-4. They win this game, they're 4-4. And, boy, you look around the AFC, and you got questions all across the board here.
No, absolutely. And Burrow is like awesome in the games that they win. And he hasn't been very good in the games that they lose. Granted, they're missing T. Higgins to start the season. Jamar Chase takes a while to get rolling here, but this isn't a very good defense still. And it's not a very good, defense at limiting explosives and really like stopping the run. I know that what the numbers say, but they're almost looking a bit like a run funnel at times here. And looks like the Eagles have gotten the run game rolling, or at least were able to commit to it for an entire game for the first time so far this season. I think that's a scary proposition for Cincinnati. They still have the skill position players to be able to get this thing done, but we've been having the same conversation about the Bengals for a while. And Brad, we're talking about a 2-game win streak, but it's the way they beat the Browns wasn't very impressive at all. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked like trash. I think Jameis Winston wins that game. Like if he comes in at that point in time, or if they even recover that onside kick at the end of the game, it was like, holy smokes, Jameis is going to do this thing. That's scary for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more concerned about the defense of the Bengals, Tyson. It's still a team that's like kind of getting whipped into shape. And we talk about, or when we think about defenses across the NFL, nobody's really looking and writing home about the Eagles, but they have the defensive advantage in this based on an EPA per play basis. It's just, seems like we figured something out, or at least they've figured something out on that side of the ball. The pass rush has been something that we should highlight. I think if they play that way or scheme that way, and we saw what they did against two bad offensive lines in the Cleveland Browns and New York Giants, the Eagles can potentially get after the Bengals in this one. If that's the case, they can disrupt Joe Burrow. Maybe they have some more success. Tyson, this Eagles offense, passing-wise, has to figure things out. Cam Taylor-Britt, one of my guys, loved him coming out of school. His mom retweeted me one time, which was funny. When I was shouting him out, he is susceptible to getting burned. I'll put it that way. Devontae Smith could have a big game. This offense through the air needs to have a big game because they're right now, Tyson, if I'm looking on an EPA basis here, on the offensive side, they're an elite rushing team. They're third, tied for second, tied with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, and God, everybody's talking about them. 19th in EPA on a passing basis, which is a struggle.
Yeah, and I know what the numbers say about this Bengals run defense, but I just think that Philly was going to run the football all over them. But granted, you see the flag. Let's get into the next matchup.
Bills, Seahawks. This is a banger, man. Bills, they looked bad against the Ravens, and I could just feel all the haters or the people that like believed in the Bills and then got embarrassed when they lost like consecutively to the Chiefs, who now all of a sudden don't like them or don't believe in them. Like they're like, "Oh, see, I told you, haha, you guys believed in the loser Bills again." Tyson, I love what Sean McDermott's kind of have this team. Let's just put our heads down and grind. Do we hear anything about the Bills? Like, God, if it was 3 years ago, everybody's talking about Josh Allen's being better than Mahomes, Josh Allen this. Now, there's a lot of people saying that, but it's more so like, man, can you believe what Josh Allen's doing? And nobody's really talking about him in that way. This Bills team is really good. And we talked about it with Amari Cooper. This is the most complete offense that they've had in this era. The defense still has to figure some things out. And if they can't get after Geno Smith, it could be a long day for that secondary. But that's my matchup that I'm watching for here.
And it feels like the Seahawks got a bit of their swag back. They put the boots to Atlanta. If you're going to design a team to play in a dome, it might look a little bit like the Seahawks team. Ken Walker is certified home run. I think he's a certified superstar. And I think that him going after Breece Hall in the draft and kind of having a slower start to his career and the injuries have made people push him down the rankings. I don't know where he's at 1 through 5, but I struggle to think there's 5 guys I'm taking over Ken Walker. Maybe no DK Metcalf, maybe DK Metcalf. That changes a ton as far as the way this game goes, because like you said, they might be able to just shred them through the air as far as Seahawks, but the Seahawks also have to push the ball down the field. That was something that's been missing in their losses and has been present in their wins. Let's see if Jackson Smith-Njigba gets more involved. We've seen him get a crazy target number earlier this season, and we've seen him relegated to the sideline. I still don't necessarily know what to make of the Seahawks team, but it does feel like two teams who are kind of finding their footing or have found it scoring off. And this is not the best NFL slate as far as content goes for previewing.
No, it's not, which means it's going to be an insane weekend, and we're all going to be like shaking our heads like, what the hell just happened? But this to me is the best game of the weekend. But we got to close because, it's America's team and it's the 49ers and it's a nostalgia.
Your boys.
I'm intrigued by this game based on the Cowboys getting embarrassed, coming off the bye, and the 49ers are decimated. This is a must win for the 49ers. Just all things considering, like if you can't beat this Cowboys defense, now maybe they figured some things out, but holy smokes, if the 49ers can't move the ball on them, we have a real issue. And I don't know if Debo's going to be back. It might just be Kittle going up against this Cowboys defense, like honestly. And for the Cowboys side of things, you got to figure something out. Dak Prescott has regressed. This offense looks horrible. CeeDee Lamb apparently is only good to play 30 minutes because in the second half he goes on the milk carton, or at least he's just running routes and getting cardio in. Where are you at with this?
Well, you said it's a must-win or must move the ball for San Francisco. It's also a must-win for Dallas. I mean, this is huge. This is massive for them coming off the bye. This is the game they have to have. We think about the 49ers defense, and we talked about the injuries on the offensive side of the ball. The defense has been shredded a bit too, but they're smack dab in the middle as far as yards and points. And so Dallas needs to be able to move the football on them here as well. Nick Bosa, only 3.5 sacks so far this season. He's not been getting after the passer the way that we're used to. Is that a product of maybe a little bit worse interior defensive line than he's used to playing next to? It could be, but this could be the game to get him back on track. I think this is both teams really need this one, which normally sets up for a banger, but these two teams don't play close games that they win This is like if the 49ers are in a close game, they're on the wrong side of it. The Cowboys actually just get blown out. They might win a close one, but this one is awesome, I think, for fans of football, but like the product on the field might be a little sloppy.
How about the Niners being like 4.5-point favorites? That seems wrong to me.
Seems what? So 6 on a neutral?
Yeah,
or
roughly.
3 on a neutral.
3 on a neutral, yeah.
3 on a
You'll
neutral.
go better.
I can get behind 3 on a neutral.
This version of the 49ers? Good.
This
God,
version of the
I don't know.
Cowboys?
Yeah, they're bad. But at least they're healthy. They got healthy bodies.
Bro, they made the entire NFL think Dennis Allen was keeping his job.
That's a good point. All right, Tyson, let's get out of here. We've gone a little bit over, at least for our target, but good discussion today. Like, subscribe, and share the show on the way out. We're back at it with our normal routine. Smash that like button. Share it with a friend. Share it with somebody you hate. It does not matter to us. We'll be back with our college football reaction coming out soon. Talk to you guys then. Peace.